The RØDECaster Pro offers a wide range of high-quality audio tools like you would find in any recording studio, allowing you to shape your sound and take your podcasts to new heights. And one of these handy tools is the compressor. Compressors are very common studio tools that are used in a wide variety of applications, and in essence, they reduce the dynamic range of an audio signal by taking the loudest parts of that signal and reducing them, while at the same time taking the softest parts and boosting them up. Why is this useful for podcasting? Well, when applied correctly, it'll make your voice sound more smooth and more balanced, making it more intelligible overall. Now in its basic mode, the RØDECaster Pro gives you access to a great compressor preset that will work nicely on most voices. But today I'm going to show you how to use the advanced version, which gives you complete control over all the parameters you would find in a professional studio compressor. To access this, ensure Effects Edit mode is enabled in your advanced settings. Then navigate to the audio processing page for the channel that you want to edit and hit Compressor. This will give you access to a range of parameters, including threshold, ratio, attack, release, and gain. Now on the right here, we have a level meter, which is great as it gives you a visual reference of how the compressor is affecting your signal. The green meter is the input signal feeding into the compressor before it's been compressed. The yellow meter is the output signal feeding out of the compressor after it's been affected. And lastly, the red meter on the right here is the amount of compression or gain reduction that is being applied to your signal. The main controls to focus on are the threshold, ratio, and gain, as these will have the most impact on your signal. The best way to approach compression is to position all your settings at a conservative point and then to start slowly tweaking until you're happy with your sound. Compressors can be quite finicky, and if you don't take your time, you can quite easily get into unpleasant territory. Don't worry though, if at any time you are unhappy with your sound, you can simply tap the arrow in the top left-hand corner. This will revert your settings to the point at which you first opened the compressor. Okay, let's get started. To get your settings to an ideal starting position, set your threshold all the way up to 0 dB, and your ratio set to 2:1. From there we can set our attack and release settings to about halfway, and then lastly our gain control all the way down to 0 dB. We're now ready to start tweaking. Start by slowly pulling the threshold down while speaking into the microphone. The threshold sets the point at which the compressor is triggered. At 0 dB, the threshold is so high that no audio will be hitting that point, and therefore no compression will be applied. But as you bring the threshold down while speaking into the microphone, your signal will start hitting that threshold, and the loudest parts of your signal will begin to compress. You should begin to see the red meter on the right here jumping a little bit, indicating a small amount of gain reduction being applied to your signal. Now, if we turn this down even further, you'll start to see more and more gain reduction being applied. As you can hear as well, my voice sounds a bit too crunchy, so what we might do for the time being is bring this back up to a conservative point. Now at this point, you'll need to decide how much compression you want to apply to your voice, using the ratio control. Turning this up will apply more compression to the signal that passes your threshold. Turning it down will compress the signal less. This will depend on your own personal tastes. If you're a fan of natural, clean sounding dialogue, you'll want to be more gentle. But if you're a fan of that classic radio announcer sound, you can be a little bit more liberal. Remember, applying too much compression can make your voice sound a bit squished and hard to listen to. So it's best sometimes not to go too far. Positioning the ratio anywhere between 2:1 and 3:1 is a typical place to end up. Okay, I'm going to set the parameters so that we're getting a nice, subtle amount of compression. And looking at the meters here, we can see that we're getting about 4 dB of gain reduction. This is taking the loudest parts of my voice and making them quieter about 4 dB. Now all we need to do is use the gain slider to reintroduce that 4 dB of gain. This will make the quietest parts of our voice a little bit louder, hence why it's sometimes known as makeup gain. And there you go. Now you might notice my voice is a little bit more consistent, clearer, and more intelligible. You can also experiment with the attack and release settings to change how the compressor reacts to your voice. Attack will affect how quickly the compressor is triggered when your audio reaches the threshold. Release will dictate how long the compressor takes to stop reducing the signal after it falls back under the threshold. Use faster attack and release settings for a more noticeably compressed sound that reacts quickly to your voice when it gets too loud. You can also try slower settings for a smoother and more gradual compression sound. These are quite subtle controls, so try experimenting with a combination of fast and slow settings to find the exact sound you want. Remember, you can use the enable function to check if your adjustments are improving your audio or not. A good habit is to simply talk into your microphone and continuously switch this on and off to clearly hear the difference it's making on your voice. So what you're listening to right now is my voice going through the RCP with the compressor on, and now my voice going through the RCP with the compressor off. If you decide your voice is sounding too compressed, you can decrease the ratio just a little bit. Or if you notice the red meter isn't moving at all, indicating that the compressor isn't being triggered, you can pull down the threshold a little bit as well. Remember, you can also adjust all these functions in real time from within the RØDECaster Pro companion app. The real-time graph with histogram is especially useful in displaying how the compressor is affecting your voice over time as you make your adjustments. Thanks everyone, and happy podcasting.